Shalom hovering, James Trim here, and today I want to talk to you about the Nazarenes and the Nazarene view of Paul. Before we get going, I want to remind everybody to please donate to support these videos. As many of you know, my wife is chronically ill. She suffers from chronic pain. She's disabled. I am her caretaker. And you're also helping, so you're helping me stay at home, be her caretaker, and you're also helping me to produce the material for these videos and the other online teachings that we produce for free. You can donate by sending donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org or clicking on the donate link in the video description. From there, you can donate via PayPal, Zelle, or GoFundMe. We are in a budget shortfall right now. We need to raise $300 by the end of the day today to prevent our bank account from going in the negative tonight and creating a chain reaction of returned items and fees. So if you can possibly help us with that, please consider donating today. Also, like our video, click the notification bell, subscribe to the video, and click the notification bell so that you'll get notified when new videos come out. Let us know what you think of the video in the comments section. Participate in the discussions in the comments section, and share this video with your friends in social media and through email, etc. I also want to tell everybody about our yeshiva classes that we're offering. I will put a link in the video description where you can get in touch with us, find out more about them, and get in touch with us about if you'd like to take the yeshiva classes. We're offering a class right now in Talmud and a class on the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Essenes. And you can click on the link on that in the video description to find out more about. It's a weekly 1-hour online class. So each of them are weekly 1-hour online classes. So let us know if you'd like to be involved in those. Okay, so the Theebionites and the Nazarenes were two different groups, and they had a number of things that they disagreed about, and we discussed that in a previous video on the Nazarenes not being Theebionites. The Theebionites were a split-off group. I know there's a lot of confusion in some academic sources that confuse the two, but there were very different groups that had very different beliefs, and we did in fact document that in a video about their varying beliefs, and that the Theebionites were a group that split off from the Nazarenes in 70 CE. The Nazarenes were the original Jewish believers in Yeshua as the Jewish Messiah of Judaism. Now, the Theebionites rejected Paul. Irenaeus, in his Against Heresies 1:16-2, says that they, quote, repudiate the Apostle Paul. Epiphanius, in his Panarion chapter 30 or section 30 that deals with the Theebionites, section 29 deals with the Nazarenes. One of the evidences that they're not the same group is that Epiphanius deals with the Nazarenes in Panarion 29 and the Theebionites in Panarion 30. In Panarion 30, 16 through 19, he has quite a discussion about the Theebionite position concerning Paul. Sufficient to say, they rejected Paul. The Nazarenes did not reject Paul. This is something very different between the two groups. Of course, in the book of Acts, Paul is called a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, so his association with the Nazarenes should not come as a surprise to us. Now, we know about the Nazarene position on Paul particularly because we have preserved to us fragments of an ancient Nazarene commentary on Isaiah. This is preserved in, I believe, 5 fragments that appear as quotations in Jerome, the so-called church father Jerome, in his 4th century commentary. He's a 4th century church father. Jerome's famous for having produced the Latin Vulgate. He's also famous for having preserved a lot of the material that we have about the Nazarenes, the Gospel of the Nazarene, etc. The Gospel of the Nazarenes, etc. Or the Gospel according to the Hebrews, which later came to be known as the Gospel of the Nazarenes. So Jerome, in his commentary on Isaiah, 5 times he stops and he quotes from this ancient Nazarene commentary on Isaiah. We don't have this ancient Nazarene commentary in Isaiah in total, but we do have these 5 quotations, and one of them is from the portion of Isaiah chapter 9 that covers Isaiah chapter 9, the opening few verses. And this is a portion of Isaiah where the Christian and Jewish versions of Isaiah, the chapter verse divisions are slightly different, so the verses are one off. So if you're looking at a Jewish version, the verses will be one off from the verses that I'm using, simply because for convenience I'm using the King James Version here. Chapter 9 verse 1, nevertheless the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously affect her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan in Galilee of the nations. And the word nations there in Hebrew is I believe goyim. I think it's in the plural. It's Gentiles. Okay. The Galilee of the Gentiles. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. Now, we talked about this verse recently. We talked about we did the video on the Torah is the gospel. That Yeshua's primary message was the Torah, and this material is quoted in Matthew chapter 4, verses 14 through 16, and others of the synoptics. But it's quoted in Matthew chapter 4, verses 14 through 16, and in context, if we look up to chapter 8, verse 20, we see it says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them, that the darkness is a lack of Torah, and the light that is brought to them then is the Torah. So it says in verse 2, the people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. That's Torah teaching. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them has the light shined. You have multiplied the nation, goy in Hebrew, Gentile, and not increased the joy. It says and not in the KJV. That's a mistake. The Masoretic text, the Septuagint, I believe the Septuagint, certainly the Masoretic text, the Peshitta, the Dead Sea Scrolls versions of Isaiah, all do not have the word not there. It doesn't belong there. So it should be, you have multiplied the nation, or multiplied the goy, and increased the joy. They joy before you according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you have broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of the oppressor, as in the day of Midian. Okay. Now, the ancient Nazarene commentary on Isaiah to this passage, which is preserved in Jerome's comments to the same passage, he says, the Nazarenes, whose opinion I have set forth above, try to explain this passage in the following way. The Messiah came, and his proclaiming shone out. The land of Zebulun and Naphtali, first of all, were freed from the errors of the scribes and Pharisees, and he shook off their shoulders the very heavy yoke of the Jewish traditions. Now, in context here, if we look at all of these Nazarene commentary on Isaiah quotations, and if we look at what we know of the Nazarenes in general, this wasn't the oral law as a concept that was being spoken of here, but rather specific Jewish traditions of the 4th century with which the Nazarenes disagreed with Rabbinic Judaism. It goes on to say, and this is the relevant portion, later, however, the proclaiming became more dominant. That means the proclaiming was multiplied through the good news of the emissary Paul, who was the least of all the emissaries, and the good news of Messiah shown to the most distant tribes. And the way of the whole sea, which that phrase, the way of the whole sea, is referring back to chapter 9, verse 1, by the way of the sea. Finally, the whole world, which earlier walked or sat in darkness, was imprisoned in the bonds of idolatry and death, has seen the clear light of the good news of the gospel. And the Torah is the gospel. We did a previous video on that. Okay. So, what this is saying is that the ancient Nazarenes, while they did agree with Matthew chapter 4, verses 14 through 16, that Messiah Yeshua was fulfilling this messianic prophecy in Isaiah chapter 9, they also believed that Paul was the ultimate fulfillment, that Messiah, through Paul, ultimately fulfilled this passage. That Yeshua initially fulfilled it in Matthew chapter 4, verses 14 through 16, but it was ultimately fulfilled through the work and teaching of Paul. Paul being the emissary to the Gentiles, right? But the Gentiles here in Isaiah chapter 9, the land of, it says Galilee of the Gentiles, which is the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. Zebulun and Naphtali are two of the tribes of the lost 10 tribes of the northern kingdom that lost their identity and became scattered and became known as Gentiles. Okay? We would do a whole video perhaps on the future on the lost identity of Ephraim and of the lost 10 tribes and how they came to be quote-unquote Gentiles. But here it's clearly the case that they are being called Gentiles. And in the Targum, chapter 9, verse 3, in Targum Jonathan, where it says, you have multiplied the nation, and the word nation there is goy, okay? The Targum identifies this as speaking of the house of Israel. And the Nazarene commentary on Isaiah refers to the most distant tribes. So the idea here of Paul as an emissary to the Gentiles is the idea of Paul being an emissary to the house of Israel, to Ephraim, to the lost 10 tribes. And this is all well in keeping with the 2 sticks allegory in Romans chapter 11, which we will do a video on in the future. But if you properly understand it, going back, tracing it back to Romans chapter 9, you'll see, and comparing it to Ezekiel 37 and the 2 sticks there, you'll see that the 2 trees, olive trees, represent the 2 houses of Israel, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And that the Gentiles, the people that are called not my people, in Romans chapter 9, and are identified as Gentiles in Romans chapter 11, are the house of Israel. Okay, so Paul, as the ancient Nazarenes understood him as an emissary to the Gentiles, largely understood him as being an emissary to the lost 10 tribes, to the house of Israel. The other important thing that we can learn from this portion of the Nazarene Commentary on Isaiah, and at some point I may do a video series going through the entire 5 fragments of the Nazarene Commentary on Isaiah. But what we can gather from this portion is that the ancient Nazarenes accepted Paul. They didn't reject Paul. They knew he was misunderstood by Christians, but that he was true to Torah, and that those who rejected Paul because he was allegedly antinomian just didn't understand Paul, and that the Theebionites just didn't understand Paul, but they didn't understand a lot of things. But the Nazarenes, unlike the Theebionites, did accept Paul. Not only did they accept Paul as an emissary, but their idea of him being an emissary, of course, being an emissary to the house of Israel, but they also saw him as being prophesied of in messianic prophecy and fulfilling prophecies in the Tanakh. And part of the messianic prophecies that Yeshua fulfilled here, but that Paul fulfilled to an even greater degree, continued the following, the fulfillment. So what do we learn? We learn that the ancient sect of the Nazarenes, the original Jewish followers of Yeshua, unlike the Theebionites, accepted Paul, but they understood him properly. They didn't misunderstand him like the Christians did. They understood him as a pro-Torah teacher, not as an antinomian. 2, they accepted Paul as an emissary to the Gentiles, but primarily as an emissary to the house of Israel. Gentiles in this sense referring to those that were called not my people, that would be called my people in Hosea, and who are referenced as being Gentiles in Isaiah chapter 9, but for which refer to, for example, the tribe of Zebulun and the tribe of Naphtali, having this great work as an emissary to the lost 10 tribes. All right, so that's it for today. I want to remind everybody to please donate to support this work. We are $300 in the hole right now. So if there's somebody out there that can donate $300, that would really rescue us right now. But we really need even more than that for future days as things move forward. If you can donate, please help us out. We need to raise, like I said, at least $300 by the end of the day today. And you can donate by clicking on the donate link in the video description, by PayPal, Zelle, or GoFundMe, or you can send donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org. PayPal will get us donations immediately. Zelle typically gets us donations immediately. If you use GoFundMe, those donations won't get to us immediately. They take a few days. So right now, to help us out with this $300, we really need donations by PayPal or Zelle. But if GoFundMe is the only way you can donate, donate. We need your help. Okay? Please like our video. Please subscribe to this channel. Click the notification bell. Let us know what you think in the comments about the Nazarene view of Paul. And let us know, participate in the discussions in the comments, and share this video on social media with your friends, and in email with your friends, and in relevant Facebook groups with your friends, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, with your friends. And until next time, everybody, shalom.